everybody. I am Ken, CEO and founder of Cupid, and I'm here with Kara Bell. How you doing, Kara?
I'm doing fabulous. Happy Monday. I'm going to start treating my Mondays like it's Friday.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Great.
Usually,
I just need like a haircut. I turned on the video this morning and I was like, oh
no,
no.
it looks good. You just smoothed it in place, so you must know where your hair falls.
Just
you got
it. I was looking this way. There's a profile view the entire time.
You got it. So happy Monday. I wanted to join you in black today.
Love it. Yes, we love black. It's so easy. All right, Kara. So I was really inspired over the weekend after listening to Bella Claire's podcast. I don't know if you caught the episode. Matchmakers out there, if you checked into the episode, Bella Claire released an episode that was awesome. Hey there, Samantha. Welcome again.
Hey.
Bella Claire released an episode with a flight attendant who has a really interesting story, Sarah Guerrera. And it was very interesting listening to her story and like what it means to be a flight attendant from the work side, but also from the traveling side. And you can go check out the episode on Spotify. But it was so funny because she talked a lot about jump seat therapy. And I think there's, because you're on a plane, right, Kara? Like, think about it. I'm so productive on planes. I love to read. I love to like focus in. No one can bother me. It's very few times in your life that you're like awake and like in a place you can't move around a lot, right?
Right.
Like no real internet connection. I mean, it's kind of getting better, but you could just be focused. So I wanted to run today's call and kind of talk about careers that pair well with matchmaking. So, Kara, some of the common misconceptions we get here at Cupid is people believe that like this has to be their full-time job, which is like the opposite of what I believe it has to be. I actually think Cupid can amplify many careers. There's many jobs and things that are inherently social. For example, the first topic, and I was going to kind of lead us off, we're going to do today a 50-50, guys. So today's 50%, we're going to talk about careers that pair well with matchmaking, how to leverage that and where it's useful. And then the other side are careers that are great clients for matchmakers. So that's the second half of today is, when you meet someone, you understand a job title, even if that person, great example is a doctor, right? You meet a doctor, if they're single, the chances are they do not have time. It's through the residency process, it's so time consumptive. And so we'll get into some more careers and suggestions of keeping your ears perked for if you hear these kinds of jobs or these careers, even if that person in front of you is not a good client for you, they're going to know people who are. And so just keeping that in your mindset. So we have another comment. Samantha says relationship coaches, life coaches, and consultants. Samantha, you are ahead of the game. I'm going to bring up relationship coaches in just a minute, but I totally agree. I actually think, Kara, would you say that like no matter what you do as a matchmaker, you're going to end up doing some coaching?
Yeah, because I think what the component that comes with matchmaking is a relationship coach. You find yourself, giving relationship advice, dating coaching. So I think that all kind of will culminate into matchmaking. Matchmaking is just one of the tasks,
right?
But there's a whole lot of psychology around it, and yeah, you're going to be a therapist in a sense, and you need to know that.
Yeah, and we here at Cupid realize that like we need to give you some more options as matchmakers to charge our clients different amounts based on their needs. So we're actually going to talk to Kara and some other matchmakers to speak about that. So just matchmakers, a quick heads up, we are gearing up towards next year to enable some more pricing options. More about that later, but let's get into today. Let's get into today's topic. So first thing is flight attendants. So Kara, what do you know about flight attendants?
Flight attendants typically they're very busy people. They often travel to numerous cities within the course of one day. They are around a lot of people, and they have an undivided attention for that 2.5 hours of the flight.
5 hours. Sometimes the flights, you go to Europe, it's 6 to 8 hours. You gotta, it's a lot of time. Right. So, Carol, it was so interesting listening to Sarah Guerrera talk about this because she would say things like, you have to be social. If you want to be a successful flight attendant, you have to enjoy landing in a city, going to a bar, seeing the sights. You're here for 6 hours. Yeah, you can sleep, but of course you're not going to. You do this because you're adventurous and social.
Right.
And that is what we're going to talk about today are all these qualities and values that make a really great matchmaker. I think I made a presentation about this, but the Michael Jordan quote is, you miss every shot you don't take. So if you are not willing to talk to someone and be social and get out there and say hey, maybe I could help you with your relationship hunt, maybe not, but hey, we could try it out. it was so funny thinking about a matchmaker because if matchmakers wanted to have side hustles or part-time jobs, it'd be almost impossible unless it's something completely online based, right? You're in Seattle this morning, you're in Texas this afternoon, you're in New York tomorrow, and you won't be back for 4 days. Like that's their actual schedule.
Right.
Kara, when I was listening to Bella Claire's podcast, I was just like really impressed. I was like, what an interesting space, but also like a really affluent client base you're going to be meeting. You're going to be meeting people who are also traveling like you. Their life is hard, right?
Absolutely. A lot of single people are traveling. A lot of business people that are very successful are traveling to business meetings. And I think, flights in general, I think is a good space. I know one of the matchmaking companies, noted themselves from putting their advertisements on the back of in-flight magazines.
Right.
And I'm sure they did studies behind that, Ken, as to,
why'd you choose that space?
Everybody's picked up that magazine at some point in time. And I've even picked up that magazine as I was traveling back from, a holiday setting where I was the only person that wasn't coupled up, and picked up the magazine, and there's their advertisement, right? I'm already feeling myself. So I was like,
Hey, you feel good because you're on a flight, you're enjoying yourself. Maybe you had a drink on the flight, but that's actually, I think, Kara, if I'm being honest, that's probably the very first place I saw a matchmaking advertisement. Like a centerfold of an airline. Yeah. So, we're going to go through a couple of these and just talk about some differences, but absolutely flight attendants, it's a very social opportunity. It's super part-time, so no one's required to do a certain, amount of hours or whatnot. So it's a really good complement to their schedule. It's also, flight attendants, it's a very variable schedule. So it really depends on how many flights you get booked, so you got to be working to make the money. And I'm just imagining what an interesting chance opportunity to make so much FaceTime with people. And you can see it pretty quickly. Do you have a ring on, right? And what Sarah said on the podcast was, your job as a flight attendant is to size someone up as soon as you see them. Are they a threat? Are they this? Are they that? So you're already paid to notice these things. So I don't know, Kara. I just thought it was a really smart,
No, I think it is. And I think a lot of, flight attendants will have regulars on their flight, especially their business class members.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of flight attendants know these customers by names. They already know a little bit about where they work and what their status is. So what's the harm in slipping them a card, right?
Right. Absolutely. Or having them sign up, even as a single or as someone who might know someone.
Exactly.
All right, Kara, let me ask you about the next one. Have you ever told your bartender too much about your single life?
Only in my 20s. I learned real quickly. Boy, I used to just cry in my beer. So just think about bartenders. I mean, they are therapists, right? / mixologists. They are around different people of different backgrounds, ethnicities. People are crying about their relationships. They can overhear conversations being heard.
Well, also bars are the very last space, in my opinion, of where it's socially appropriate to go out and shoot your shot. It's the last place. I don't know if people want to be approached in the gym or the grocery store or whatnot, but a bar, is a known space that you are socially appropriate to be social and talk about relationships, and you can fail and it can be fun and it's all enjoyable and the inhibitions are lowered. So if you're thinking about side hustles or things that you can do, bartending, if you're already a bartender, perfect possible opportunity, right? You're serving drinks, you're talking to them, you're getting to know people. Maybe they become your client. Maybe you recruit a whole bunch of singles. It's a great opportunity to be right in front of someone. Inhibitions are lowered. It's not awkward. It's probably a common conversation you're already having anyway.
Right. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah,
and if you're not the bartender, just going to the bar and sitting down, like we had talked about, I think on the last cast, is just sitting down and talking to people and sharing, with them, who you are and what you do.
Totally agree. Yeah, and it's a great place to just be social. I think people really do, in today's world, it's not as much about getting drunk as it is just to be social and get out in our ever-expanding, more remote world. I think that's absolutely one of the facets. Exactly. All right, Kara, I want to tell you a funny story about my next one. So I can't tell you how many times I have sat down, and I do not know this person, right? I sit down, I've never met this person before. I'm one of those terrible hairstylist clients that I book it based on my convenience, not the stylist. Because my hair's not great anyway. I do whatever. As long as it does it, it's fine. Get a bold fade, I'm content. But I can't tell you how many times we're both sitting there, they're buzzing away, just quiet, and they're like, "So you're single?" And then, bleh, like I puke all over them, right? I tell them everything about my life. Totally strange, but this is super common. The hairstylist therapy.
What is it about sitting down in that stylish chair that makes us like vomit our whole life to,
I
a
don't
stranger?
know. I don't know.
Sometimes I find myself really opening up to my hairstylist. I
Right.
don't know if I think that if I'm opening up, like, oh, hey, Crystal, I'm really having a rough time with my single life. Maybe she'll make me look a little more glamorous. I don't know what it is, but I feel like that is the space that I feel comfortable in, Ken, with
Yeah.
sharing my woes, if you will.
It's true, but you're not the only one, Kara. I think hairstylists, very similar to bartenders, receive a lot of like complementary therapy stuff that they have to do, and they have to be good at their job. They have to be willing to talk about it and think about it, and then of course by creating that rapport and that relationship over and over again. And what's so funny is I actually pitched my hairstylist a few weeks ago. I went to the barber and I said, "Hey, I would love for you to become a matchmaker," and they said, "This is great. Do you know how many of my clients are single or newly divorced? Or I know everything about their life. I mean, I see them every 2 weeks. I have a lot of updates." And the average hairstylist in the US to be successful has hundreds of clients a month. So really, there really is a very good like connection system there. So if you are a hairstylist or you know a hairstylist, this is an amazing like plus one, matchmaking as a complement to your full-time career. And I want to be very clear here. I'm not saying stop what you do. I'm simply saying inflation's rising, right? The world's getting more expensive. Kara, I don't know if I told you this, but we both live in like Tampa, but like I went to Publix the other day and half and half was $6. And I almost threw a fit. I almost went full-blown Karen. Because like I was like, this used to be $3 6 months ago. I'm not doing this. So, as we're all living in this world where it gets more expensive and gas is going up and like life gets more expensive, we need more ways to make money that are conducive to our careers.
I agree.
If you're a hairstylist, consider this as an opportunity. Really easy way to, I'm sure it would be like, it wouldn't even be much of a conversation. It'd probably be like a please guys help me.
Even like your facialists, your waxers, your
Yes.
nail technicians, your pedicurists, all of those people, anyone in the
Mhm.
beauty industry, they
Mhm.
typically see a lot of different people and they see hundreds of people on a weekly basis.
Right. And this is the perfect example of someone who should consider matchmaking at least as an addition to your career. Now, I'm going to go to my next one, Kara. Realtors. Do you know any realtors, Kara?
I know a few.
Right.
You can, yes.
I'm not a realtor. No, I'm a real estate investor, but I'm not a
That's
realtor.
right, a real estate investor.
Yes.
Yes, and I like the realtors because I think, with realtors or real estate, you tend to get a little more information about your client.
Right.
So like their net worth, their occupation, you probably know if they're single or married. Is that correct?
Credit score. Usually you know all this stuff. I mean, Kara, it's usually what a realtor does is they shepherd you through, for most Americans and most people, the most expensive decision of your life. You're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, and you only get one house, right? You got to pick it. And so, but let me tell you guys why realtors are a really interesting like option and why it's a very good connection to the space. So I'm a real estate investor. I don't transact real estate. I buy it and I hold it. So realtors only are successful when they're social. Very similar. If you see like the connection between these other careers, right? Like you're only successful when you're social, and you only get paid when you sell or buy a property for your clients. So big peaks and valleys of income, right? You might go 3 months and get nothing. If right now interest rates are going crazy, ain't happening, right? It's also realtors have a really hard time differentiating themselves, making yourself special. And so what better way to form a deeper connection with your client while you're selling their house or keeping them in your network for they buy a house, they get married. 5 years later, they're gonna get a bigger house. They got 2 kids coming through, and that's when you get the second sale. Yes. And so understanding how these, matchmaking can complement your current career. Because, Kara, you want to guess how many matchmakers there are in the USA today?
I'm going to guess USA Today or in
No,
the
like
US?
how many in the whole US? How many matchmakers do we have?
I'm going to say I don't think really there's that many. I say 500.
500 in the whole US?
Yeah. Is there more?
There's a million.
Oh, wow. I think
There's
because I only look for matchmakers like in a certain space. Let's say when I'm on
sure,
LinkedIn or whatever, in
right?
my mind, there's not that many.
Oh my gosh, look on search
So,
LinkedIn and search for realtors. I think you'll be amazed. There's a
oh,
lot.
you mean realtors? Okay,
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah,
sorry. Yeah,
yeah.
matchmakers is about 10,000 in the whole
Okay,
USA.
okay.
Sorry, that was my fault.
The other thing I'm thinking, Ken, is that it's somebody that's single that's just moved. Let's say they've come to Tampa for business.
Exactly.
They're ready to
Right.
get out there and mingle, right? So the
Right.
realtor's like,
Yeah.
hey, by the way, I'm a matchmaker. Are you
Right.
interested in being matched with, some singles in the area?
Well, also, hey, we just bought that big fancy house. You got 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. What you doing there alone? Like, we got to find you someone to go fill that house with some babies.
I
All
love
right, we got
it.
a comment from Samantha. It says, nail techs are a really good one. Really, anyone who can provide at least 30 to 60 minutes of talk type therapy are good candidates. Samantha, I
Yep.
totally agree. Any of that FaceTime, and that actually leads really well into our next one, personal trainers. If you ever work with a
Oh,
personal
yeah.
trainer, like I've done it a few times, and like it is usually they're amazing. They talk about your body's physicality, they talk about why you're doing this, because they understand that you can go to a gym and do this yourself. You come to a trainer for inspiration, for connection, for motivation, and you're gonna spill your guts. 100% chance. Why are you going to the gym? It's not just for nothing. Usually, most likely, it's to like either keep your current partner happy and or to help you actually go out there and hunt. So personal trainers is something that we haven't had a lot of personal trainers that we know of sign up for Cupid yet, but we think it's a really good market. Kara, what do you think?
I think it's great. I think nowadays we're all thinking of different ways to generate money. This is not
Right.
like our parents' era where everybody just has a 9 to 5. There are a lot of people that are just simply contractors or freelancers. So take advantage. Nearly
Mm-hmm.
everyone has a side hustle, and the economy, I think, is partly because of that. But especially like people that aren't married, like I got to have side hustles to
You
to
have
be able to
to. You don't
enjoy
have
the
two incomes.
extras.
You don't have two incomes for a household right now, Kara. It's hard, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and very few actual like jobs or careers provide you enough money to live super comfortably and not have something additional. And so, if you have
Exactly.
to have something additional, why not make it fun and rewarding and exciting like matchmaking? And it's. I just want to remind people that are watching, this is a start anytime, like start it and drop it anytime, you know. So it doesn't mean you have to do this forever. If you don't feel comfortable, you didn't love it, that's okay. But 1 or 2 clients, it's also okay. Try it out, make some extra money, pay your utility bills.
Exactly. I mean, and that's how I started. I started off
Mm-hmm.
part-time. So start off part-time, give yourself time to ramp up, enjoy it. I
Yeah.
promise you, you'll be looking for ways to you'll do it full time once you get your dip your toe in the water. You won't want
Yeah.
to work for anyone but yourself.
Well, right. And I think that leads into the next one pretty well, relationship coaches. So this is a group that we have seen a massive influx. So Kara, we have been going live on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube, and we've just seen so many folks from LinkedIn actually come through that are relationship coaches who want to amplify their coaching practice and not just because a lot of relationship coaching comes down to like the actual experience of finding that person. They can coach you all day long, but you still have to go out and do the work and what's the work, Kara? Is it swiping your life away or is it the bar? What's the other option? You know?
Also, right. And I think relationship coaches are especially helpful once you do find that special person to help you kind of navigate through that relationship and give you feedback and
Right.
be that sounding board or that go to of somebody that you can confide in about your thoughts and your feelings about the person that you're dating. So I think relationship coaches are extremely helpful, and I see matchmakers as relationship coaches in a sense as well.
I think we absolutely are, and I think like over time, Cupid is going to work really hard to deliver more training. Obviously, all training in Cupid is free. We want to give our matchmakers every tool possible to be successful. So if you guys know a relationship coach or anyone who's interested in relationship coaching, please send them our way. We would love to work with them. We've seen a massive influx from LinkedIn. We started posting there, people actually coming to me.
Yeah.
So my LinkedIn inbox is full every day, 5 to 10 people saying, "Hey, like I'm so interested, I would love to learn about this." And it's mostly relationship coaches who want to amplify their practice.
Yeah. They also guise themselves as dating advisors. So I hear
Sure.
some different terminologies
Yeah.
for these relationship coaches, dating advisors as well.
Well, a lot of life coaches too, right? When I
Yeah,
hear the
life
phrase life
coaches.
coach, I'm just assuming that includes everything. But what is life? It's career and then relationship, right? Like
Right,
that's your little
right,
bubble.
right,
So,
right.
all
But I
right,
think
Kara, mine. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say I think the relationship coach kind of specifically focuses on the person's relationships instead of encompasses everything about
Correct.
their
Correct. Yeah. I
professional.
mean,
Yeah.
we'd be welcome to all of it. We'll see over time once Cupid finally launches and we have some better understanding of like what our clients are seeking. Because no
What they
matter
need.
what, I mean, no matter what, there has to be some kind of coaching. There's going to be, oh my gosh, let me tell you how good this date was, which is really exciting and it feels great. Or, oh, this date was really bad. And so we have to be there for our clients to get that feedback so we can do better at our job next time.
Exactly.
All right, Kara, I got a curveball for you. Ready? How you feel about this one?
Oh, this is ding 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 number
You think
one.
so?
Absolutely. Because I've never done Uber or Lyft, but I can
Mhm.
imagine that when they go to pick up their package to deliver or food to deliver to the consumer, there's probably some time spent waiting for that, right? Things aren't always just ready for the Uber driver to grab and
100%.
go.
Yeah.
So there's all this downtime that they have. The beautiful thing that the app is mobile, right? So
Yep.
they can do their other job, their matchmaking job, while they're waiting for their order to deliver.
Now you're thinking,
Delivered.
Kara, you're thinking that Uber is only for food delivery. But what about human delivery? Because if you
Oh,
think about what
that's
Samantha said
right.
earlier, right?
You're
Like
picking
30 to
people up
60
from the
minutes,
airport. You're Ken, I
welcome to
love this
town.
thinking.
It's really smart because I've actually had this happen before. I had a relationship coach when I was living in New York City who was driving me. And I was so impressed. Like we talked, it's just casual conversation. They said, well, I'm a
Mhm.
relationship coach and da da da. Like, why did you move to New York City? And of course it was because I was looking for someone and the whole thing.
Wow.
And I got their business card, we connected, and we like did some business together. How
Mm.
interesting, right? And what a great one-on-one opportunity. You're driving around on a Saturday night, the chances that you pick up 15 or 20 people and 5 or 10 of those become clients, why not? It's easy to
It's-
try it out.
And you're picking them up from the bars
Bars, from the airport, from convention
everywhere.
centers.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, this is one of those like very niche audiences, but also let's remember if you're working in this space, if you're doing Uber or Lyft, most likely part-time, that's what
Mhm.
most of the drivers are, you are getting a lot of face time with people. It won't work every time, but it's that
Right.
concept of the more face time you get with someone, the more success you are going to have. So, I love this market of people. And Kara, I got a statistics question for you. So, do you want to guess how many drivers there are just for Uber, not even for Lyft, not even for like one of the other ride shares? How many people drove for Uber in 2020?
Oh, wow.
Big number.
5 million?
That is 3.5 million. But if we think about that, we have about like a 350 million population. That's 1% of our country
It's a lot of
drove
people.
for Uber or Lyft last year. And just imagine how many connections they could have made. I mean, you might literally get someone at 7 p.m., you sign them up on the app, boom, 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 3 touches, really easy to do. They sign up as your client, they create their profile, and 2 hours later, you physically meet someone who'd be a great match for them. I mean, how many times do we think that already happens? And
That's
then,
that's
you see what I'm saying? Like, that's the real natural human collision that Cupid is literally made for. That's what we're missing in our lives is this human collision, this like guided approach. And that's what this can be. So I'm glad you like this, Kara. I was a little worried. I thought you'd be like, no, you can't
no,
be
no,
a
no, no.
matchmaker.
I actually thought about that today and I said, oh, Uber. Yeah. I
Yeah,
didn't
I
think
think.
about the Lyft, but Uber.
Yeah, well, Lyft is what I use. I'm a big fan of them because they give a lot of money to LGBTQ rights like organizations, and so
Mm.
I vote with my dollars, so I give my money to Lyft instead of Uber. It's not that Uber's a problem; it's just I really like the mission of Lyft. All right, so I have a last one that I have some personal experience with, and this is because Kara, I don't know if I told you this, but I used to be a financial advisor for Merrill Lynch. So, Kara, what do you know about financial advisors?
They are usually very well connected. They know a lot of high net worth clients.
Correct. Correct. So a financial advisor, what do they do? Their job usually is to help you plan. It's planning for retirement, it's planning for children, it's planning for your marriage, potentially planning for a divorce. It's the financial planner. If you think about all the people that you have in your life, I used to have this phrase called like the 5 pillars, right? You have your mortgage broker that helps you plan debt. You have your realtor that helps you plan your real estate. You have your doctor who helps you plan your physical body. Financial advisor, you've got a lot, and banker maybe too, but like the pillars that make your keep you stable, because it is impossible in today's world for you to potentially know everything. It's impossible. There's so much legalese. I mean, your lawyer is one of those. We got a comment in from Samantha. Samantha, we couldn't agree more. Human connection is everything about Cupid. People are coming to us, and the reason why we have so much attention on this company is people are tired of swiping. We had in Discord today, I think we had an article posted by one of our matchmakers just talking about like the rate at which people are deleting Tinder. It's just a changing world. And we are right at the right time, team. I promise you, matchmakers, like you watch 2023. I think, I would love to see, Kara, I'm just going to say this. I told it to you before. I would love to see that we've paid a matchmaker at least $1 million next year. I don't think it's going to be, I know we're going to pay many matchmakers like in total, but I'd love to see like at least 100K, but pushing closer to $1 million paying to a matchmaker. Because even at $100,000, like this is an amazing career, and it could be part-time. It's amazing,
Exactly.
And what do you got to make $100,000 a year? It's $8,000 or $9,000 a month. Not impossible with Cupid, especially once we open up pricing. So Ken needs to get to work.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so financial advisors. So financial advisors, there's a lot of them. A lot of big banks. If you've been to JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. So a lot of these folks out there, and their job is basically power brokers. Because Kara, right now, you could go invest your money in the stock market yourself, E-Trade or something. The reason why you use a financial advisor is the connections and the things that give you access to that human connection. Which is so funny, because in this tech world, right, Kara, like all of these like people my generation and even younger, I'm 32, so now I'm like in the middle bucket. But there's people, Bella Claire and people who are like much younger than me, a decade younger, who are in the workforce now. I mean, they're not 15 anymore. They've grown up in a world of all tech. So they're used to the Robinhood, the stock apps. The difference is once you get into the real space, you start learning how valuable people are. The human connection solving those problems for you. This is interesting. So I have a sneaking suspicion that financial advisors, much like realtors, have a challenge of differentiating themselves. How am I different, right? If you Google, Tampa Bay realtor right now, I think you're going to have 1,000 results, maybe 5,000.
Right.
So your job of standing out becomes challenging. And then getting referrals from other people becomes challenging. So the concept of like a financial advisor, why they should consider matchmaking, a lot of the financial advisor's job is planning for your financial future. What's, 2 biggest ticket items in most people's lives? Marriage, children.
Right.
Big, big plans, right? So, Kara, you have any thoughts on this, on like that high affluent, high net worth kind of folks?
I think, financial advisor would be great to tap in. I did some real estate investment trusts to work for a company, and all of my clients were high net worth.
Yeah.
But these people also use some platforms, right? It goes back to that human connection. A lot of them just wanted to talk to me about, oh, I just acquired this. And they like to brag. Like a lot of my clients like to brag about, what they were acquiring or what their net worths were. And I was just astonished at how easily people would tell me like what their net worth was, or I would ask questions about how much liquid capital they had.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't offensive to them. Like they would just, if somebody asked me that, I'd be like, what do you mean how much liquid capital? Right? Because I don't have any, right?
Right.
But these people, where they had a lot, they enjoyed sharing with me what their liquid capital was. And I was just amazed at like, wow, these 1%ers.
Well, it's also that they, there's a lot of people out there who want a safe space to discuss this stuff. Like once you do well in your life, it's kind of like a lot of things in life. Once you get a really good marriage, if you're the only person in your group who has like a really successful marriage and things are going well, you might have some people in your world who are a little jealous. and they're not so charmed by your beautiful romance life. They're a little jealous. And so by financial advisors create that safe space to like talk about money, because money's so awkward in our life, right? I mean, as a matchmaker, we're not going to have a choice to not talk about money at some point. People, what did you call it, Kara? Equally yoked is what people like?
Equally yoked, yes.
Yeah. And that was my first time hearing that ever, understanding like you want your financial goals to be congruent or to work with your potential match. And so I would even argue that like as a matchmaker, I would want to connect with financial advisors.
Yeah.
Because likely, let's think of it like this. You have a financial advisor, but there's a lot more. So whatever, Merrill Lynch, there's thousands and thousands of financial advisors. You want to keep your client forever because that client has a lot of money and they work with you and they pay your bills.
That's right.
If your financial advisor can tangentially introduce you to your future husband or wife, chef's kiss. They're never going to fire you.
You're in the will.
You're in the will. You're in the marriage. You are, and you don't got to do it. Financial advisors out there, you can simply introduce them to a professional matchmaker full time. So like these relationship-based businesses that are very human to human need to be thinking beyond just what they do, especially if your space is very competitive, especially if you're kind of commoditized,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I thought of one, Ken.
What is it?
An event planner. Holy cow. They're planning parties. They're planning weddings. They're planning bachelorette parties, bachelor parties, baby showers.
I mean, that makes me think like even goes to florists. Like think about the times in which you get flowers. It's always for special events. I mean, there's so many different industries, but I mean, event planner's a perfect example of someone who, you're right, baby showers. So it's everything. I totally agree. There's so many of these industries that would be well complemented by matchmaking. Yeah, I totally agree. We have a comment from Samantha. She said, I think we're going to see a high divorce rates of couples in 2023. As unfortunate as that is, people are forced to spend a lot of time together during the pandemic. Samantha, you are right. You know what's sad? Kara, do you have any idea what the average divorce rate right now is in the United States? Just like average.
I think it is about 60% now.
Yeah. It's
if not higher.
60%, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I saw during the pandemic, not in my friend group directly, but what I kept reading about was people who were getting together based on convenience. Prices were going up. They realized they can't go out and date anymore. And they're like, might as well tie the knot. Like, might as well go real in this thing. So Samantha, I don't like to think that divorce is a good business for us. Like, I don't want to be, as you guys have heard me say, I really don't like preying on desperation. I think that's really unattractive as a business.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to be Cupid's focus. But at the same time, I think it's very likely. I actually met a matchmaker who exclusively works with divorced clients only because their experience is so different and there's so much. There's children. There's a lot involved.
Yeah.
All right, Kara, I gave you my best ideas. So that was the concept of careers that pair well with matchmaking.
I like it.
And if you know these folks, please welcome them to come join us. The more matchmakers we have, the larger of a single database we have, the more successful we're going to be. So you never know if that Lyft driver happens to be a matchmaker and invited this perfect single is going to be a great match for your client. I mean, that's the beauty of the way we built Cupid.
Mm-hmm.
So Kara, with your permission, I'd like to move on to our next subject. I want to talk about careers of a good client. So this is folks that we understand, Kara, what does Cupid do? If we just break it all the way down, what is the problem Cupid solves for a lot of its clients?
We solve your inability to be able to find your special someone because we have the ability to be able to cast that wider net.
Right. And time, access, ability,
energy, emotions, quality time, I think, is so limited for people. So this really allows for people to focus on their families, focus on your work, focus on your friends and having fun, and leave us to do the matching and the screening for you.
Right. So this goes into my very first group, and there's a reason I didn't say doctors here, Kara, because we have a lot of people in medicine, a lot. And as you know, one of the beauties of our country and the medical system is if you break your leg at 4 a.m., there has to be someone at that hospital. 24/7, 365, perpetually. Hurricane, earthquake, we don't care. There's hospitals open. So that means that very often, and I have a very good friend who's a doctor, and his schedule's wild, Kara. I mean, he starts at 7 p.m., usually off by like 10 a.m. or something.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he's forced to sleep during the day. So how do you date? The few times that you can date are chaotic and challenging, but then, when you're working with these people who, and no matter what, if you have a job, you're always trading time for money. So like your hours are super valuable. Like you really need to do this work. But then you say to yourself, like, gosh, I only have so many Saturdays. Think about that doctor I just described. 7 days on, twice a month. So he only gets actually 2 weekends to himself. That's it. And so now that's literally 2 Saturdays and 2 Fridays per month. So you have generally four dating windows. That's not a lot. And you think about nurses. I mean, Kira, have you heard about these travel nurses, how like what they do?
Yeah, them traveling from state to state. So they work a lot of hours. And what I found by working with medical professionals is the more intense or specific that the specialty is, the more odd that the schedule would be.
Higher stress too.
Right.
I mean, if you're going to be a surgeon, geez, like they have to have that surgeon, specifically there from this hour to this hour. This other person calls out, sorry, you're getting called in. Mm-hmm. I mean, it takes a very unique person to be willing to put up with that. Obviously, it's well paid, right? But then there's a balance of quality of life. So when we think about clients, matchmakers, let's think about this. Does our client get paid by the hour? Are they time-based or salary-based? We like people that are paid by the hour because their hours are better used working than they are searching. So it feels expensive and time-consumptive and whatnot. Medical professionals are great for us as clients because their times are kind of off. Like, yeah, you make a lot less money at a 9 to 5, but everyone has a 9 to 5. So then it's way easier to go out for drinks after work or do this. But if you work, Thursday through Sunday, 9 p.m. to 9 a.m., it's hard. Your life is harder. It's harder to work around that. And so having a matchmaker set up dates and screen people for you, amazing. What a great service, right? Can you think of anyone else in this space, Kira?
Medical professionals?
I'm just trying to think about like other reasons or like why or even how we can meet these people. That's a great question.
For me, when I had doctors, what I found pretty quickly is that they were great to refer me within their own medical community, kind of their own safe space. There was like, hey, I'm working with a matchmaker. Her name is Kara. She's great. You ought to reach out to her. So I got a lot of other clients that were referred from my physicians, my surgeons.
I mean, it makes perfect sense. And Samantha had a really great addition. She said first responders, of all of them, that's police, that's firefighters, that's EMTs. I mean, we're thinking doctors in a hospital, but there's so many folks out there. It's the folks that kind of run the world behind the scenes. It's all the things that we just rely on, right? What a privilege. Like we seem to forget sometimes, if you dial 911, there's a solution there, 24/7, 365. Your house is on fire, there's someone there for you. And that's a beautiful thing. I mean, Kara, you've traveled a lot, I've traveled a lot. There's plenty of places in the world that is not a reality. And so, I also will say one thing. I'll also say one thing that really bothers me about dating these days, especially because like my community, queer people, like have such an interesting relationship with the police. I've seen so many people on their dating profiles, Kara, say no cops, which I think is like a really hard conversation because I don't know, like I can imagine the challenge of being a police person. You have to be able to find a partner who's willing to let you go into the line of fire. I mean, whether you are like happy or sad about like police people being there, they're a necessity. I would argue, like we need the safety. We need someone to be able to keep the peace. But it's going to be hard these days to be a first responder or a firefighter where you work 6 days, 24 hours a day. I mean, these are hard. These are necessary roles in our society, and they are hard to fit. They're usually pretty well paid. These people aren't not affluent. They've got money. It's just helping them also understand the lifestyle. I mean, Kara, when we talk about first responders, I know a few firefighters. I mean, they'll go to work for 7 days. They don't leave the firehouse. They sleep there, they eat there, they live there because they have minutes to respond to a fire.
Exactly.
Imagine that challenge, Kara. Like, how hard would it be to be that person and then like try to also date,
Well, my ex-brother-in-law was a fireman, and my
Mm.
ex-sister-in-law said she actually liked the fact that he was a fireman because he would do the 48 hours, at the firehouse.
Oh, okay.
So it's like she felt like she could like go hang out with her girls, like she was
She got some
single
freedom.
all this time, right? And then he go back to the firehouse. So
Yeah,
she said, "Well,
yeah.
this is perfect."
And I mean, who's not into a fireman, right? 100% sexy or a firewoman, like very, very
Right?
hot, but also not conventional. So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
raising children with a fireman. I mean, those are your babies for the next 48 hours. Like, there's some real challenges.
Exactly.
All right,
Exactly.
Kara, I want to shift gears to my next type of person. So,
Engineer.
engineers. Now, when I'm saying this, I'm talking. This is more on a personality standpoint. So we can think about like software slash hardware engineers, so people who work at technology companies, which, I don't care where you are in the US now, because of work from home culture, there are engineers in your community. Here's the interesting thing, they're going to be hard to meet. Engineers make a lot of money. Let me tell you, I've been working in
Yeah, they do.
technology companies for, gosh, a decade, and like the average engineer is walking out of their first time job, no experience, with hundreds of thousands of dollars, usually about $100,000, no matter where they are in the world. And so, but that's not what I want to talk about. Obviously, they have the money to pay you. Here's the real challenge, Kara, that I see: introverted, not social,
Extremely.
right?
Extremely.
Driven, work obsessive, plays online games, has a lot of online community friends,
Yep.
misses that human connection. This is not just men. You might like trick yourself into thinking it's men only. No, it's an enormous amount of female engineers coming up in the world, and it's hard because you are paid to like be, you're on salary usually, so you're in front of that computer 7 to 7, right?
Right.
So this is what I'm thinking about, Kara, is people who are not naturally extroverted. You can be that extroverted arm for them.
I had a lot of clients that were engineers,
Mm.
Silicon Valley based, and you are
Mm-hmm.
spot on. What I really realized about those people, they're very analytically driven.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. To them, and it's interesting because they said to me, it wasn't so much the looks, it was more about the characteristics
Mm-hmm.
of an
Yeah.
individual. And it may
Right.
be because, yeah, they are behind computers all day. So to them, to have a mate that has a deeper understanding or that they want to have a deeper connection with made sense to me.
Right.
They are in front of a computer all day. So they want a deep, deep connection. But you're right, they're often very introverted.
Right.
They do have their little niche group, but they
Yep.
are gamers and onliners, right? They're
So
very
then they don't get that
practical.
many options. They don't
Yeah.
get out there. If we think about it, like compare a realtor to like an engineer. A realtor's job is to go to networking events, go to business openings, be social, be open houses. Like it's all human to human. So when that happens, inherently you're going to get better at human to human connection,
Mhm.
right? As an engineer, you're behind the keyboard, right? You got one of these things. Like you're not, you are not out there doing all that face to face, and maybe a lot of your face to face was behind a screen. So it's a little uncomfortable. Like, where do my hands go? All those things that you just
Yeah.
miss and you forget whenever you are behind a computer 24/7. So I have the opinion that engineers will make fantastic clients. Plus, they make a lot of money. So $100 a month or even more is a drop in the bucket for these clients, and that's who you want. You don't want to have to sell someone on the price of your services. What you want is to see if they are open and willing to learn about themselves, put themselves out there, and be matched. Because neither of you, I mean, Kara, I can imagine, what it's like to like have a client who's not really that open. They're kind of halfway in, halfway out, and how unsatisfying that would feel as a matchmaker.
It is. It's hard. It's difficult because, I've had clients like that and I just felt like I couldn't get a good read on them at
Right,
all.
right.
And I tried from different angles and I just
Mhm.
felt like I couldn't get a read on them. And so for those people, it was difficult for me to say, okay, yeah, I understand what you're looking for. Because I was always feeling like, okay, is this it?
Because
It
they don't know
was
what they're looking for,
difficult.
Kara. Do they know what they're looking for? I mean, that's the
Um,
bigger challenge.
Yeah, they have a hard time kind of expressing that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so
So
matchmakers, when you're looking at people, like I would say, and this is a broad suggestion, right? As someone who is extroverted and pretty type A, I think it would be very attractive for a type B or like more introverted person to have a matchmaker to go out there and do this for them and do the work for them. Also, especially if they're really high paid, they might be working on projects or things after hours and doing consulting, which is a way better use of their time than trying to go match themselves on Tinder or Bumble or Hinge.
Exactly.
All right, I got another one. Shift gears. Single parents, Kara. Have you ever matched a single parent before?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They typically like to be or would prefer to be matched with other single parents. And they communicate that to me because they say that only another single parent would understand all the juggling acts that go on in their life with the kids and the career and the limited time to date. So single parents, they are always very communicative to me. Quality was really important, the quality of the matches, not the quantity, because time was limited. So
yeah, really limited.
Yeah, make it good, and take your time until you find someone that really fits. They also felt like that another single parent has, ideologies about raising kids together, children together, and they felt that they wouldn't get that nuance necessarily from someone that did not already have children.
Because whenever you're dating, that's even harder, because let's say you have like a 5-year-old, right? Super formative time. So you're trying to defend your own heart, but also the heart of your child.
Right.
Because if you bring that person around, like you're 30, you're 40 years old, you're an adult, like you've been through this, you can handle it, but like your child is fragile. And they don't get exposed to that many adults that they see you holding their hand. And it's a much deeper human connection to then manage the emotions. It's kind of like, Kara, I think we talked about like introducing your person to your family. Like they're not going to forget about that, right? Your family is, I don't know if they're worse or better than kids, but like I can just imagine how hard it is on children, especially with single parents, to have multiple partners come over and come through and then see that kind of like, it's hard because you want to take risks as a single parent, but then it's challenging. I don't know how you navigate that, Kara. That's a tough one.
And they are very protective. They will say, hey, I will not introduce this special someone for a significant time to my children. I keep that separate from my dating life.
I think it's kind of wise, honestly. I mean, but, let's come back to like the core reason why single parents are a great market for matchmakers. It's time. They spend a lot of time with their kids. If they got a full-time job, they have to. Who else is supporting them, right? So you have a full-time job, and then you got 1, 2, 3, 4 children. The amount of time you have for dates, this much, right, Kara? You got like maybe 2 nights a week, you know?
And I think because maybe they've gone through a relationship or come out of a marriage, whatever the situation is, I think they've kind of done the work and they know a little what they would do differently or who they feel that they would be better matched with. So yeah, single parents, I would go stalk the PTA association. Go take some cookies to your local PTA and join the PTA if you can.
Well, it's just like what we said, Kara. You know how many singles groups there are on Facebook, like single parents groups? And what I want to like suggest to the matchmakers, without being creepy or weird, remember that you can come join these groups and learn about these folks. You don't have to like get there and spew that you're a matchmaker immediately, but you're going to see people inherently talk about this subject. It's going to happen. If you have 10,000 people in a Facebook group who are talking about being a single parent, the challenges, the budgeting, the stresses, inherently relationships are going to come up, right? Dating as a single parent is a real concept, and it's challenging. And it's not, with a 50 or 60% divorce rate, it's not that hard to find single parents these days. And so there's a lot of places you can meet these people and, talk about fulfillment. What I always come back to is like when we have success as matchmakers, it is life-changing for the children, life-changing for the parent, for the couple, for everyone. So, how you find them is always going to be unique. It might be remember, Kara, we had all these ways of like Reddit and hanging out on Clubhouse and different things to like meet these folks. But, again, let me remind you guys, matchmakers, you're not held by a specific region. So if you live in Wichita, Kansas, there's no reason why you can't have clients in San Francisco and have clients in New York, because we have matchmakers in both those locations, adding on singles and being social. So your inventory of potential matches will always be growing, and they might have clients in Wichita. So it's a beautiful network, right? So don't forget that, matchmakers. All right, Kara, here's my next one. This is actually a shift in today's world. So this is not a career specifically, but this is just the new reality, which is work from home, right?
Let me just say, if there was any good thing about COVID, it was this. The
Yeah,
ability for people to work from home. I think this is something that America should have adopted a long time ago, and it shouldn't have had to be some pandemic for it to happen.
sure,
Like, if you can't trust people that you've hired, don't hire them, right?
sure.
That's
Yeah,
my philosophy. But people are working from home, which gives them all types of what is that when they say a flexible time?
yeah, yep,
So they have flexible time in which to
yep.
work. Um,
Be more
I kind of
effective, more efficient.
I kind of worked a little bit from my full-time job and my matchmaking job. If I saw a little message and my computer was
Sure.
open, I slid on over, Ken, and answered
Why
that
not?
question, right?
Why
And then
not?
came right back to my main job. So, the flexibility of working from home, if you can organize your time, don't negate your work from home job to do this.
Sure.
Stay on top of your work from home job.
Right.
But if you are good at multitasking and you got a lunch hour you want to slide some things into, you can do
Right.
matchmaking. It provides you a flexible opportunity to start working on that matchmaking or reaching out to some clients or making a quick post,
Yeah. Yeah.
5-minute post that may garner you 10, 20 clients. So
Totally true. There's also the other side of that, Carol. My feeling is so I think about big cities because I used to ride the subway a lot in Chicago, right? One of my favorite cities in the world, Chicago. When I rode that subway every day, I probably saw 50 to 100 people on my commute both ways. Okay? This is walking to the train, going down the station, doing this, doing that. So here's the challenge. That's almost entirely gone when you work from home. The person that you saw at the bagel shop in the morning, all of those, I want you to think about a Lifetime movie for a moment, right? Think about the way that every Lifetime, never in a Lifetime movie does someone meet on Tinder. Hell no. No, it's always like, oh, I bumped into you putting sugar in my coffee.
oh my
It's,
gosh.
you know what I mean, Kara? All these
Yes, yes,
natural human collisions.
yes.
How to get my tire fixed because something happened, but then I met Steve and I fell in love. Like, this is the fact of life is that relationships since the beginning of time have been completely based on convenience and happenstance. Just happens to happen, right? And
Exactly.
now that we have such an enormous network of people working from home, the worry is those aren't happening anymore.
Right.
Who do you, I mean, Carol, like I see my pool guy. That's all I got. Like I work from home every day. I don't commute. I don't go get breakfast out. I don't go meet people. I don't go to lunch out where I might meet someone at a lunch hour. I cook for myself. It's a total shift to the future of work. And so that's why matchmakers, when we're considering what you can do for someone, I mean, work from home is really actually changing the fabric of our work society.
It is.
You're not as incentivized to go out after work for drinks because why? Because you and your jammies, number one, you definitely didn't put on any makeup today. I didn't brush my hair, and like you may or may not have showered. You know what I mean? Like no one knows that stuff. Like, come on, Kara, tell me I'm wrong. Like, it's
I
true.
hope you at least showered, but the pajamas are perfectly acceptable.
No promises. Who knows? Am I wearing pants? You'll never know, right?
That's true.
It's just the world has shifted. And what it means, it doesn't mean we're more antisocial. It means we're probably much more focused. Like I'd argue that work from home work is way better, feels better, there's no commute, there's less risk, there's all kinds of good things. But what it's done for our natural collision dating world, it's like when I think about my parents, Kara. My parents, could have met at like a soda fountain back in the day, right? Or like one of those like a skate in whatever, or like a drive-in movie or whatever. All these things that don't even exist anymore. I mean, they're very niche and cute, but they're literally date spots now. If I went to like a skating rink, like an adult skating rink night, I'd look lame. Going
Oh
alone,
my gosh, wouldn't that be fun though?
so fun. I mean, I think that's a great idea. It's just, I'm just imagining and just the world has changed, especially from work from home.
Hmm.
Carol, we got a comment from Bella Claire. Bella, thank you for tuning in. It says, what about 9 to 5 workers from home who are not around people all day? Oh, see, we got you, Bella. They have flexibility in time but miss out on the face-to-face opportunities. How can they find clients besides social media? Yeah, Bella, that's a really good conversation. Carol, do you have an answer of like if you work a 9 to 5 job, work from home, how could you go out and find clients and connect with them besides social media? That's hard.
I mean, your local gym, you can grow, you can join groups, social groups, and
Yep.
outside of the home,
Yep.
right? You could build your own social groups.
Yeah.
What are some other
I got an
face-to-face
idea.
opportunities? Just you going out and conducting your daily life, running your
Right.
errands, shopping, going to the market. You're going to come across people of all walks of life. So every time you have an interaction is an opportunity.
Well, I have one for you, Bella. I play a lot of sports, and my volleyball league actually here in St. Pete happens to be a gay volleyball league. Now, it doesn't mean it's exclusively gay. We're probably like 25% heterosexual people, but we kind of use it for half sports, half exercise, half dating. Because how do we meet each other otherwise? It's
Right.
very rare, and because of our niche community, it's actually less safe for us to like shoot our shot out in public. So, we use sports, but there's so many things that we forget that still exist. There's book clubs, there's wine clubs, there's event nights. If you got a dog, let me tell you, dog parks. You don't even have to have a dog. Just go to a dog park. I love dogs. I'll just go hang out at the dog park.
Which is a dog park. Yeah.
Right.
There's just so
There's a
many
lot of
activities.
right that are inherently social and like put people together. And I think it works really well when you think about these things as situations in which people are supposed to be meeting and talking. Don't like force it. Don't go sit down at a cafe and try to sit down with people. Like that's a little weird, right? Or like don't go like shopping that's not the space I would do it. But Kara, I like your idea of the gym. Where are people already going? I also want to remind you guys, and Bella, I would challenge you to try this. One of my favorite groups in the world is BNI, Business Networking International. All BNI meetings are at 7 a.m. They're built for 9-to-5ers. It's built for people who want to network, and I think you'll be impressed. Rotary Club, if you start learning about some of these spaces, they're made for people who have full-time 9-to-5s. They're looking for social connections outside their industry, outside just who they already know, who are like them, social, businessy, have goals, have dreams, and those are people who are meeting face-to-face. They don't do anything online. Their whole point is face-to-face interaction.
Right.
So, Bella, if you've never tried BNI, I really suggest you go and meet a few groups. If anything, BNI almost every single week starts with a pitch. You have to pitch what you do, and you get really good because you do it every week. And these are people who want to see you do better. Yeah, Kara, I'm telling you, like when I was a financial advisor, I learned so much at BNI. And I did like $200 a year or something to join one of these groups. And you meet every week. It's like an accountability group. But everyone's got their thing. My neighbor, she's part of a running community. Okay. There's like runs for brews or something. Like people go run and then they drink afterwards. So that's one night a week. But Kara, there's 200 people in her group.
Yeah.
And you remember, Bella, when you're doing things like this, and this is the last thing we're going to say because I have a meeting directly after this. But you think about like a group that has 200 people, maybe 70 of them show up. If they understand what you do, if they like you, and you built some rapport or trust, those 70 people are now your advocate. And when you go back and see them a few more times, they say, hey, how's your matchmaking business doing? Oh my gosh, I thought of you this weekend. Oh my gosh, now you have 70 people out there, disciples, exactly. People spreading your message.
That's right.
Girl? Like that's right. Explosive.
There's safety in numbers, right? So yeah, even if by you just talking to people, even if they aren't a great fit, they're gonna know people that would be a great fit.
I totally agree. Yeah. So thank you, matchmakers. I'm going to cut it off about 1 minute early just so I can breathe before my next meeting. I'm onboarding more matchmakers today, so it's always good problems. We'll see you on Wednesday. Kara, thank you so much.
Bye, guys.